or what should SWAT teams be training, especially when they don't have the ability or the money or the resources to train like higher level soft units, right? Like, and I think he was referencing like specifically tier 1 units. Um, and I think that's a pretty good question. And it goes a lot about like for law enforcement teams, like what do they value in training, right? How do they look at training? I think for most departments do things kind of the same way, where it's 40, 60, 80 hours, whatever. I mean, I think we can all agree it's not a lot of training that they get initially, and then there's even less training that they get from a sustainment standpoint in terms of skill development, right? Like how to get better. But they will jump at the bit to do vehicle training, CQB training. And for me, I think the big issue with all of that was always you're participating in this more complicated, like tactics-based training, that's focusing on TTPs and procedural and techniques of application of a tactic, but you don't possess the basic skills that are required to even apply that tactic, right? So that becomes an issue for me. When you think about it, any gunfight that I could think of, right? Like gunfights are shooting problems. You have to solve them with shooting. It doesn't matter, where you're standing or anything like that. When the guns come out and it's time to shoot, yes, there are, a quote unquote tactic thing you could do to, favor angles. But for most law enforcement, it's like traffic stop, cars here, bad guy's car's there. He stands out of the car and starts shooting, right? That becomes a shooting problem. Like how fast can I effectively deliver rounds on target to solve this problem? Like, I think that is, to me, that seems very, very basic. But you say that, and then everybody's like, well, tactics save the day and tactics save your lives, or saves lives. And, like, I disagree with that. I think there's an element of that, yes, that does exist. But at the end of the day, active shooter problems are not solved by tactics. They're solved by officers that close with and find the enemy and shoot, or close with and find the active shooter and shoot him. Like, that's how an active shooter thing would end. Never been a cop. Everybody knows that. But, high risk warrants, I would think you go in and knock and announce, you have to do all of that. There's all of these legal procedure things that already put you at a massive disadvantage, right? And the adversaries, the bad guys, are ready to fight, or they decide, yep, I'm going to start this fight. That's a fucking shooting problem, right? It's not anything else like, oh, well, what are we going to do? Now, the only discussion I think you could have is like, how much risk are you willing to assume? Now, obviously, if the door opens up and the shooting starts, right, I'm not the one that's advocating for you're not charging in there. No, there's no need to pull back, wait them out, right? You have all day long, call them out, gas them out, do all that stuff. That's if you show up and he's already ready to fight. Like there was the ambush with Marshals, I believe it was, in Texas, right? Like that was a series of events that kind of went sideways, and then a fight started before they got to the actual structure, and they were kind of pinned down. But that becomes a shooting problem at that point, and not really a tactics problem. Especially in close-in gunfighting. Now yes, you can, if you can separate elements, right? But that's the tactics mistakes that you've made happen on the front side, and then you find yourself all together, and let's talk some shit. It's gonna happen, I'm sure. You find yourself all together, bunched up, right? So we've already made tactical errors that are now causing us to have to live out this shooting problem, you know, worse than it probably should have been. So for me, it's always like, what should SWAT teams be training? Hard skills, hard skills, hard skills. That's it.